Let's get ready for the Happy Student Rock Show with your host, Cornell Harris, the rapping granddaddy. Join us each week as we empower students everywhere to become smarter, more confident, and better human beings. Each week, we'll explore and find new ways to build fearless leaders for the future. This is your opportunity to join us as we create the Happy Student. Now it's time for the Happy Student Rock Show with your host, Cornell Harris, the rapping granddaddy.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the first episode of the Happy Student Rock Show. I'm George Sanders, your host for today. Get ready for an incredible show that awaits you. Today, I have the privilege of interviewing the extraordinary creator and host of the Happy Student Rock Show, Mr. Cornell R.G. Harris. In just a few moments, we'll explore R.G.'s background and discover the inspiration behind the creation of the Happy Student Rock Show and gain some insight into what to expect from future episodes. But before we get started, let's take a quick commercial break. We'll be right back.
Attention ministry leaders. Have you ever considered growing your ministry with television? Well, the Daily Gospel Network could be what you've been looking for. As one of the nation's largest Christian broadcasting companies, the Daily Gospel Network broadcast all over the world on popular streaming platforms like Roku, Amazon Fire, and Apple TV. If you're looking to grow and reach more people, the Daily Gospel Network could be your solution.
And we're back with the Happy Student Rock Show. I'm George Sanders, your stand-in host for this exciting new series. And as I mentioned earlier, this is our inaugural episode, and it promises to be absolutely amazing. In just a few seconds, we're going to hear from the creator and host of the Happy Student Rock Show, Mr. Cornell R.G. Harris. But before we get him on, let me share a few things about Cornell's remarkable accomplishments. Known as a rapping granddaddy, he's not only an impact coach and an author, but the founder of RG Technologies, LLC. RG has dedicated himself to making a positive difference in the lives of students and young people everywhere. He brings his unique perspective to the show, and plus he's an all-around incredible human being. Without further ado, it is my pleasure to introduce my friend, Cornell R.G. Harris. Cornell R.G. Harris, how are you today, sir?
Man, I'm good. I'm really great. Good to see you, George.
Well, it's a pleasure for me to be here, sir. You know, we've been planning this for quite some time. You're a member of the Talk Show Academy, you're a member of the Daily Gospel Network. And so we've been honored and anxiously waiting for the Happy Student Rock Show to come on. And so, you know, we've been planning and getting the scheduling together and also planning this day where I can interview you. So it's an honor to do that, sir. You're an impressive man with a resume that's extensive. And on top of that, I can't wait for your audience to kind of hear about you and hear about this show. So speaking of that, what inspired you to create your own talk show?
Well, I've always wanted to, I've always had more to say than many people around me thought, I guess. I've always wanted to have a talk show. And I, I've been concerned about young people really arriving at their potential or seeing how much they could do or seeing their own self-worth. And I've been inspired by what I saw to do with our sons, Cornell and Sean, and my grandson, who's also a Cornell. He inspired me because he said I was his greatest inspiration when he had an assignment, a Black History assignment, when he was in 5th grade. To that effect, he wanted to interview me. So that started me to thinking. So, and this came out of that. The Happy Student Rock Show came out of that over time.
Wow, that's impressive. You know, it's one thing. So he was impressing you. He was impressed by you, and you were impressed by him. And so, at the end of the day, something great came out of it, and that's what a blessing. So, you know, I know all about your movement and what you're doing, and the wonderful story behind your grandson and even your sons and the great things that they're doing. Tell the folks about who Cornell R.G. Harris is. And before you go into that, I need to tell them what the R.G. stands for. Why don't you tell them what the R.G. stands for, R.G.?
I'm the RG, the rapping granddaddy. I'm the inspiration sensation for the hip hop poof generation. I sew up the word on the verge of how the future will emerge with a surge to purge each nation into a brand new hip hop proof generation.
Hey brother, I'm ready to sign you to a record label right now. We might have to put the talk show on the back burner and let's
You just nice, George. That's all.
let's shoot a rap video, man. So listen, tell the audience who Cornell Harris is.
I'm, you know, I'm a guy. I've been always searching for what I could do that was significant. I think most of us, or even all of us, want to live lives that are meaningful. And I've always been searching for something that's significant, that I could do that's meaningful for the lives of others. So I would say that's really who I am. I try to keep upbeat and be enthusiastic and try not to be a person who criticizes others. And other than that, I'm just a husband, a father, a grandfather, a minister of the gospel, and I wanna improve people's lives, help people, and not criticize or
Amen.
down people.
Amen. And brother, you're also you're enrolling in school as well. So you're
Yeah,
so add all of that and then you're a student. So you know what I love so much about you, RG, and he's RG to me, right? So and I think to the
yeah,
listening audience, he's going to be affectionately known as RG to you as well. What I love about this man is there is every single time that we talk, we communicate, and that's quite often. It's at least once or twice, sometimes a week. Um, he's always upbeat, like he said. He's always got a positive attitude and spin on it. And I think about that. That is kind of, wouldn't you agree, RG? That's kind of the secret to life. If you want to make it through this thing, you gotta have to have an optimistic outlook
yeah.
on life. What's your thoughts on that?
Well, there's so much coming at people, and people have their own problems,
Hmm.
and all of us have things that we have to deal with. But when we're dealing with people, we should stay in the moment
Mm.
rather than to bring things to bear on it. So I think the key is just being in the moment. Um, that was a song I remember from years ago about be happy, so you can actually be. You know, so I think that's a key.
Yeah, I think that's very important. You know, when you talk about being in a moment, so many times that as human beings, we're not living in the moment. We are either living in the past or contemplating the future, and then the present that's right here, we totally ignore it because we're either we're you know reminiscing or sobbing of something that happened, or say, oh, when I get this, when I get my degree, when I get
Yeah.
this pay raise, when I get married, as opposed to appreciating the life that God has given you now. RG, listen, we're going to take a quick commercial break, but when we come back, I want you to tell the listening audience what they can expect and what the Happy Student Rock Show is all about. We'll be right back after this commercial break.
Looking for inspiration, motivation, and the good news of Jesus Christ? Look no further. The Daily Gospel Network has what you need. With more than 300 ministries from all over the country broadcasting every week, you're sure to get your dose of spirit-filled encouragement from the great programs on the Daily Gospel Network. Catch the Daily Gospel Network on Roku, Amazon Fire, Apple TV, all mobile devices, and the internet.
The thing that drives me every day as a dad is him. Every day he's hungry for something. And there's this huge responsibility in making sure that he's a good person. I think the advice I would give is you don't need to know all the answers. It's okay to make mistakes. As long as it's coming from love, then it kind of starts to work itself out.
And we are back. As I said, I am your stand-in host for the Happy Student Rock Show, George Sanders, and I'm standing in for the one and only Cornell R.G. Harris, and the RG stands for Rapping Granddaddy. And earlier on the show, he gave us a display of his skills. I was prepared to sign him to a record contract. However, I realized that I don't have a record label. So Brother RG had respectfully declined my offer and told me that he's going to stick with working with me on the Talk Show Academy. And listen, I'll settle for that. That's not too much settling, is it, sir? But we've had a delightful conversation thus far with Brother RG. And so, RG, we've got your talk show that's going to be coming up. It's going to be on the Daily Gospel Network, as well as Facebook and a variety of other places. Can you tell the audience what they can expect out of the Happy Student Rock talk show?
George, what's interesting that you mentioned a record, because we do have one.
Oh, wow.
It's called the Happy Student Rock Song. You've sampled it, for our intro and our outro, and also for our commercial. Well, the Happy Student Rock songs is actually a narrative, just like they say that hip hop songs are. I'm talking the culture now. That they are narratives. And so where the song starts, it starts with what we have to fight with, or to maintain our sanity, or to increase the possibilities of us living according to our potential, which is, I call it, consistent imagination rules out limitation. We can consistently imagine ourselves. Like I watch what you're doing, when the different shows you're doing, man, you're consistently causing us to imagine ourselves, and you do a lot to help our esteem. And so that's what the Happy Student Rock Show is all about. The song starts out with the weapons of our warfare are not carnal, but mighty through God, which are our dreams. That's our weapons. And our weapons should be the things that we aspire to do rather than the things that's coming at us, or the problems we face. Our weapons of our warfare are not carnal, but they're mighty through God, pulling down strongholds, casting down imagination. So the problems were that my grandson started our song off, and he says, I was a child for a while, but I found it prudent to become a happy student, because a child left alone too long after leaving home, excusing the golden rule, is a fool up in school. You see, we send children. We shouldn't send children to school. We should send students to school, because teachers deal with children. Teachers deal with students. Parents deal with children. So that's the idea. I want to sell the idea that if we become a student, then we can become a lifelong learner and a problem solver. We start with student. When the Bible says train up a child where he should go, it means train up a child to become a student. And I think we miss that because we don't bullseye on the point that we want to make with our children. Our children must become students. The child must have their first teacher in the home. Then when they get to school, they don't get confused, because they think the teacher be trying to teach the child. And when the child hasn't had the first teacher in the home, they think the teacher trying to be their mama or trying to be their dad, because they don't have it straight. So it begins with parents, but we send the child to school to be a student. And when they're a happy student, they're a blessed student. They realize they're a blessed student, and they can bless because blessed students bless others. I hope that makes sense to you. Oh
Uh,
yeah.
Amen. It does. Wow. Wow. So, that's very profound what you just said. So, children in a lot of households are not being taught essentially. I mean, that's a harsh reality, but they're not being taught. And then they're sent off to this place, and then there are conflicted, feelings, the conflicted emotions, that you didn't have the foundation, even regardless of the fact you being 4 and 5 years old, you didn't have the foundation, and now you're sent off to this place, and now you have conflicted feelings and thoughts and
Mhm.
emotions. So that's very powerful. You know, most people, or should I say, a lot of people, RG, kind of feel like this situation is there's no solution, right? We're fighting a war that cannot be won, right? So you got Happy Student Rock Show, and you got a few other people doing things for children, but we're fighting a war that can't be won. Because when you look at social media and the stronghold it has on kids and all of these things, a lot of people are feeling pretty pessimistic about the outcome, and not so optimistic about the future as it pertains to our children. What do you think in regards to that? Is this a war that cannot be won?
Um, all we have to do is use what we got. The idea, really, the whole idea behind the idea of happy students rock. That 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 kind of brings up the fact rock is a good sound. It's a good. It has good inhibitions with it. You said when you rock, that means things are good and they're getting better. Things are enjoyable and they're getting more enjoyable. But when we break it down to how we break down what we talking about rock. Realize when we realize with our ears, when we organize with our eyes, and we centralize with our mouth, then knowledge it comes to it 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 arises knowledge, and it arrives knowledge is strength. There's something that says knowledge is power. So that's what we're talking about. We're talking about happy students rock. Happy students realize, organize, centralize knowledge from kindergarten all the way to college. Happy students rock against prejudice, because that's an enemy of the dream. We rock against prejudice. We rock against fear. We rock against laziness, all up in here. We rock against the N word. The use is absurd. We rock until the new N word is heard. The new N word is NJA, not just a dream, because it's not just a dream. We're pregnant with destiny. And it has to happen because this weapons of our warfare, which is our dreams. So our dreams have to happen. All we have to do is internalize them and go after them with all our might. That's the whole idea behind Happy Student Rock. I know that's a mouthful, but that's what it is.
No, it's beautiful, sir. So, and what I get out of that yes, we are in a war, but it is a winnable war, right? Make no mistake that this is a battle, right? And that we have to, as the Bible tells us, we have to put on the full armor of God. I mean, every
Amen.
single day. That we have principalities and things that are coming against our children, and listen, I'm not one of those. You know me. You've been in training with me, and you've been on. You're in the Talk Show Academy, so I'm a big proponent of social media. I love social media, right? But there are some drawbacks to social media, and so we have to govern our children accordingly when it comes to that, what they can watch and what images that they should be seeing, so that they're not, swayed by other outside forces than the parents, right? And also, as you said so eloquently, the parents bear a responsibility. The parents have to teach at home so that when the child goes out into the world, well, they're respectable. They can see signs of danger. They know who to follow and not to follow, things that they should be keenly aware of. But that's all taught in the home, right? Now I know
Yeah.
teachers have, your kids for 6, 8 hours or whatever the case is, but then that means that in the home setting, that they're there for another 16 to 18 hours, right? And so for us, we have to do better jobs as parents. And also, RG, uh, from a person of your standpoint, you're taking a responsibility. You have grown children. In fact, you have a grandson who just graduated from college. So you have taken on a responsibility that says, hey, I want to do something for the youth. Where do you feel like others, regardless, it might be me or it might be your neighbor, where does our responsibility lie in helping other children, regardless of, they're born from us or they're in our household? Where does our responsibility lie?
I'm seeing that happening now. I was speaking. In fact, my grandson is doing a sort of a summer camp type thing. He's teaching some young men concerning um he what he's using. He's using um his degree in English literature, more or less, to teach some men concerning their life, and sort of like as a narrative. So with our responsibility is, I'm saying to parents, teachers, coaches, and preachers to come down out of those bleachers, down on the training field. The Bible says, train up a child where you should go. And we already visited that, but we got to come down on the training field. We know the deal, but we've got to yield. We've got to yield to the training field. So what we got to do is not stop pointing at our children and blaming them in their generation. That happens in every generation. Every generation of old people blames the young people or blames somebody for, I don't know what these children are coming to. But that's not the way you're supposed to look at it. You're supposed to look at what you can do positively to help those young people. You see, because all of us have power. We have a power of one. And when we have one on one, we can do something to help one. So that's the way we should look at our lives. Instead of trying to change the world, we should look at our lives as being that person that stands up and speaks up in the communities that we live in to help anyone in that community become um, what they are potentially um, what they can potentially do in that community.
Wow, that's well said, RG. I find that we do have a responsibility for others outside of our own household. That if everyone just took that sort of approach, that we'd have a better world. I'm a firm believer that, most people are good. In
Yeah,
fact, just about
yeah.
all people are good. I think sometimes circumstances put them in positions that maybe they do things that may be against their natural character, that forces them to do things maybe outside of the character. But I certainly agree with you, that we do bear responsibility in helping out our community. RG, this has been phenomenal. I told your audience that they're going to be able to get, something incredible from you. We're going to take a quick commercial break, and when we come back, we're going to talk to RG about what can be expected for future episodes of the Happy Student Rock, and maybe if he ask me. I'm pleading that he would ask me to come back and be a co-host or something, or something, some contributing factor to this show. I would love to do that because I'm going to be producing a few shows down the road for him, and I'm so much anxious, looking forward to that because we've discussed some of the guests and the great concepts for future shows. But I'm going to let RG tell you about that when we get back after this commercial break. We'll see you in a second.
I don't remember how it started.
Go to that.
Our back and forth. It always came back. Dad! You probably don't remember what you told me,
That was perfect.
but I heard every word.
We are back. George Sanders, your stand-in host for Happy Student Rock, for your actual host and creator of the Happy Student Rock show, Mr. Cornell R.G. Harris. And this has been a delight. I told you, I promised you guys that this episode would be a treat, and it has lived up to every moment of it. RG, as we are, getting ready to kind of end this episode here, I'd like you to tell me a little bit and tell your listening audience what they can expect out of future episodes from the Happy Student Rock show.
Just recently, I've seen some places that we actually need to. I need to show my appreciation for where I come from. I come out of separate but equal school. I come out of school, before the intervention of when everything's kind of what we call mixed. I come out of that situation, and I came out of schools wherein that our teachers were masters. Our teachers were the most respected people in the community, and in the school, our parents respected our teachers. We respected one another. Our teachers were like, they looked out for us beyond that which we thought we had the capacity to do it, and they did more for us than I realized at the time. And so I feel as though I should have appreciation for that. So I'm gonna have one of our co-hosts. It used to be, she was a retired educator, and she could kind of gonna be an interviewer on the show. She's gonna bring people on and get them involved, where we can get more communities involved in the idea of parents, teachers, preachers, coaches, come down out of those bleachers down on the training field, where we can get people to really realize that there is a point to training wherein that our children will have more of an idea of who they are and their responsibility.
RG, man, we are looking forward to this. Man, I think you got co-hosts, you got guests coming on. It's well slated. And as I promised, everyone can catch the Happy Student Rock show on the Daily Gospel Network. We'll give you times and dates coming up, and we're much looking forward to it. RG, this has been an incredible treat for me to interview you. I thank you so much for the honor of allowing me to do that. And the next episodes, I promise you're going to be able to catch them on the Daily Gospel Network. I'm personally going to make sure of that because I'm going to be producing a few of them, and I'm looking forward to that. Until next time on the Happy Student Rock show, I'm George Sanders, your stand-in host for Cornell R.G. Harris. Until next time, God bless, guys. Stay safe and take care of yourself.
Thanks for tuning in to the Happy Student Rock Show with your host, Cornell Harris, the rapping granddaddy. Join us as we empower students everywhere to become smarter, more confident, and better human beings. Each week, we'll explore and find new ways to build fearless leaders for the future. This is your opportunity to join us as we create the Happy Student. So until next week, God bless. From your friends at the Happy Student Rock Show and host Cornell Harris, the rapping granddaddy.